Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, in this little vest pocket video, what I want to do is talk about uh, getting a watch. And the watch that I wanted to get was a sports watch. I really don't have a sports watch. I've got a lot of other watches, but no true sports watch. And so I really want to go out and go walking and everything else. Anyway, use as sporty as I get so far. And I wanted a luxury sports watch, and I wanted one by a top designer. I mean, a close contemporary, a living or almost living, recently departed, one of the early 20th, 21st century designers. And in this case, I wanted one by Roger Dubreuil. And so a while back, in fact, it was like 3 days after Dubreuil passed away, I happened to do a video on his business, and ever since I've done that, I've always wanted one of his watches. The new ones are way beyond my means. They're very expensive. But I didn't want to get a vintage one. The vintage doesn't go back. Well, I guess it could go back to the 80s in some cases. But really, what we're talking about is really since about 1995 through about 2008. Okay, what happened 2008 was that Dubreuil became part of Richemont, and a lot of things changes. So anyway, let's take a look, and it will give you a quick sort of view that I was looking for. First of all, there were really two different images or models, I guess, that Dubreuil had. One was called the Sympathy, and the other was called Homage. Well, the Sympathy was the one that I really didn't like initially, and something about it grew on me, and I liked the shape. It was a pillow shape, and at some time in their development of the business, there was a case maker in Vallée du Jeu who suggested the sort of this pillow-like shape, and Dubreuil and his partner, Diaz was a designer, and so anyhow, of middling talent, I might add. But anyway, so I was looking for something with that, but I wanted a real sports watch. Well, the sports watch, they have a couple different, well, they have one major kind of sports watch I was looking for. I really didn't want a chronograph, because they do have chronographs. And the one I wanted was the Easy Diver. Now, Dubreuil had worked for 14 years at Patek Philippe, and he wanted his watches to have the Geneva seal. And so he wanted to have this really great finishing. And also, too, I wanted a movement that was all Roger Dubreuil. Okay, so I started looking at them, and the first one that they came out with as a sports watch was called the Sports Activity Watch, or SAW, and it had an RD57 in it. Now, the RD57 is a very nice movement, but it was basically a Lemania 8815 or a Longines 99.1 that had been sort of taken care of, worked over by Roger Dubreuil. And it wasn't quite what I wanted. Then I found there was one called the K10 that did have, that was part of the sports activity watch group, but it had an RD14 in it. And the one that I saw, the one up in the upper right corner there, didn't have a second hand, or at least didn't have a small second. And the second hand, I'm not really crazy about them, but they do tell you that that the watch is running, and they have something about them. So in the lower left, there's a one that seemed to be the one I wanted. It had an honest to goodness RD14 in it, and everything about it was Roger Dubuis, so this was the one. Also, it had the Geneva seal. Now, here was the confusion about this. I couldn't find any information on the RD14, very little information. And I finally read this one article, and it said something about the RD821. Well, the RD821 apparently was sort of put together, I think, after Richemont took over, and they were looking for ways to economize, which is to say, they were going to do some things to it that hadn't been done before. Basically, this is the movement that Roger Dubuis designed, and one of the big differences was that the new one by Richemont had a metal, fairly plain metal rotor on it rather than this gold one that they had before that was really nice. So, all right, so now I'm looking for the RD14, and the first thing you're going to see in it is this gold rotor, the Geneva seal, the Penchant de Genève, and then on the back it'll say Cal RD14. Well, this is the one that I found, and there's the whole thing over on the right there. You can see that's what the whole movement looks like, except for the rotor and perhaps some other parts that were economized. So this is what I was looking for. And I was also looking for something I could afford, all right? So that's another part of it. Finally, I found this one. Now, this one is the Easy Diver with a caliber RD14. In addition to having the en laws, that was where the kind of making the finishing that would meet the Geneva seal. One of the things that was important to find out for me was that there was a rounded englaze, and that the last time I'd seen a rounded one was in Philippe Dufour. And in those little finger bridges there on the right above the balance, is that you can see that that instead of having the sheer enlage, they had a rounded one. And so, look at this thing. My God, this is fantastic. And so here it is. This is what I ended up with. It looks almost totally unused. It is a pre-owned one. The reason it looks unused was that one of the characteristics of this was that it had a very short band. This one I had to get a bigger band. Right now I have to hold my breath and squeeze my wrist, but this one was made for between 6 and 7 inch wrist, and I've got about a 7.5 wrist, and so it's a little tight. But I ordered another band for it, and so what I'll do is just lengthen one side a little and then put it back on again. But what happened, I think, and this is one of the things I've done before, found something little thing that maybe somebody doesn't like, and you get a better price on it. And in this case, it was simply the tight band. So anyway, so now I have a sports watch. I have a Roger Dubuis watch with a Roger Dubuis movement, and I'm a happy camper. Anyway, got any comments or questions or anything else, leave a comment. And of course, as always, this is an invitation to subscribe if you'd like.